The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Comelec's second division is currently tackling a petition to cancel the candidacy of presidential aspirant and former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Since the start of the month, 5 petitions have been filed to stop Marcos's presidential bid. 3 of these petitions are calling for the cancellation of his COC. One of these will be tackled in today's preliminary conference, and one of the other petitions, meanwhile, asks the Comelec to declare Marcos as a nuisance candidate, while another seeks his disqualification. While the preliminary conference is ongoing, martial law survivors and human rights advocates trooped to the Comelec's main office to support the petitions and calls for Marcos's disqualification. Senatorial aspirant Alex Lacson proposes to reform the country's franchise laws to allow, quote, spreading of prosperity among poor families. Lacson, who is running under the Kapatiran Party, says he wants to amend franchise laws in the country to give local cooperatives 50% ownership to new franchises of big businesses. These cooperatives will be composed of 100 poor families, and this means owners can only get the other 50% of the franchise. Lacson says the government can help cooperatives raise capital through loans from the Small Business Corporation under the DTI.
My proposal is very simple, and this would allow the spreading of prosperity. Imagine if all the business, the franchise in the country are like that. Ganyan ang ownership structure niya. There is going to be spreading of prosperity. Many poor families would benefit from it because there is a law that mandates that.
Comelec is prohibiting handshakes, kisses, or even selfies during in-person campaigns of the candidates in the 2022 elections. The poll body says candidates should first obtain a permit from Comelec before conducting in-person campaigns. Permission will then be granted with conditions depending on the alert level imposed in the area where the campaign will be conducted. Comelec is also limiting the number of people who can attend certain campaign activities, and the allowed capacity will also depend on the alert level of these areas where the activities are held.
This may result in imprisonment of not less than 1 year, but not more than 6 years. It can result also in disqualification to hold public office, as well as any political party being found guilty might be sentenced to pay a fine of not less than 10,000 pesos.
Meanwhile, the Health Department says they have provided the Comelec guidelines for the implementation of health protocols for Election Day. Health Secretary Francisco Duque says the poll body should also work with this agency to prevent outbreaks during campaigns. Duque also appealed to local and national candidates to urge their supporters to get vaccinated.
Bago sila umiikot at pinakikilala yung kanilang plataforma, kung pwede lang po nakikiusap ako na inyo pong ikampanya ang ating national vaccination. Pwede ba unahin na ninyo? Sabihin ninyo, magpabakuna kayo. Yan po ang talagang pinakamahalagang mensahe ng lahat po ng ating mga national and local candidates. Let us take this opportunity to campaign.
An ex-defense secretary says presidentiables must prove that they are not backed by China. This as the Middle Kingdom continues to encroach upon Philippine territory. Speaking on the chiefs, former Defense Secretary Orly Mercado said he thinks China will be supporting a candidate that will act to their advantage. And he also challenged presidential candidates to disclose the sources of their campaign funds.
Magtapatan tayo. Alamin natin, declare nyo yung mga kumakandidatong presidente dyan. Kung saan nagagaling ang pondo. The question we would like to ask is, are you willing to state that, and prove that you are not the Manchurian candidate?
Business leaders touted the Philippines' great leap forward in digitization on the second day of Business World's Virtual Economic Forum. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us a front seat to the story.
ExDefense Secretary Sonny Dominguez opened Day 2 of the Business World Virtual Economic Forum, highlighting the Philippines' strong financial position. Dominguez says the economy will likely hit the high end of the government's 4 to 5% GDP target for the year.
We expect to do even better in the fourth quarter as we continue to relax mobility restrictions. We will continue easing restrictions as infection rates continue their steep decline. With current trends, we expect to achieve the full reopening of the economy by the onset of the new year. We are ready for a strong recovery.
Meanwhile, the CEO's panel underscored the Philippines' great leap forward in digitization.
The Philippines has seen 12 million new digital consumers since the start of the pandemic, of which 63% are from outside the metropolis, and 95% of pandemic consumers are still consumers today.
But cybersecurity and verifying user identities remain key problems, which Paymaya Philippines Chief Strategy Officer Paulo Azola said could be solved by the national ID.
Other people are using other documentation that is more easy to forge. So definitely the proliferation of the national ID, I think, is a massive development for financial services.
Meanwhile, DTI Undersecretary Rafaelita Aldaba announced that the agency is launching a number of programs for startups, including a venture capital fund.
Together with venture capitalists and other co-investment partners. An initial amount for this year of 250 million pesos has been allocated for this matching investment program. And for next year, another 250 million pesos has also been allotted.
The two-day virtual forum was organized by Business World and gathered more than 40 local and international experts to talk about the country's roadmap to recovery. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
Thanksgiving traditions are back in the U.S. Macys Thanksgiving Parade in New York has returned in full after being crimped by the pandemic last year. The lineup of balloons, floats, marching bands, clowns, and performers wended through the streets of Manhattan on Thanksgiving. Still, some safety measures are in place as parade staff and volunteers must be vaccinated against COVID-19, and most of them should wear masks. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden sent Thanksgiving greetings to Americans. In a recorded message, Biden says the first family is praying for other families who have lost loved ones because of the health crisis.
As we give thanks for what we have, we also keep in our hearts those who we lost and those who have lost so much, and those who have an empty seat at their kitchen table or their dining room table this year because of this virus or another cruel twist of fate or accident. We pray for them.
As Joe and I have traveled this year, we have seen and been so inspired by the unbreakable threads that unite us all: family and faith, kindness and compassion, a love for this country we call home.
With almost 30% of Japan's population composed of the elderly, two engineers created a machine that uses steam to soften food without sacrificing its original texture and shape. This Bloomberg Quick Take tells us more.
Wow, that's incredible. We're here in Kyoto to check out a soft food machine. It's supposed to help the elderly and anyone else who has trouble chewing. It's called Deli Softer. This machine can soften a variety of home-cooked foods within 12 to 29 minutes using high-temperature steam pressure. We have some chicken, some rice, vegetables, and fruit, and now I'll try it. It's super soft, and I just have to squish it with my tongue, and it just melts away into your throat. Fried chicken can be cut with a potato chip without breaking it. And softened broccoli can be sliced using a thin piece of nori seaweed. Japan is known for having a lot of old people. Almost 30% of the population is over the age of 65. That makes Japan the country with the highest percentage of seniors in the world. So machines like this could really make a difference in the future. Two Japanese women facing a similar problem came up with the idea.
うちのおばあちゃんは徳之島で116歳までこのように生を受けてうちの母の作ったもので私は天国に行くんだっていうところをずっと言われていて、食べる喜びは生きる喜びっていうところをずっと言われてたおばあちゃんでした。父親が本当に突然嚥下障害になって誤嚥性肺炎で普通のものが食べれなくなったので、本当にその家族がみんなが食べれないものっていうのが増えてきて、父親のなんていうのかな、家族で楽しかった食卓が父がこんな餌みたいなものを食べれないって言われて、作る手間もすごく大変だったので。
Now they hope the machine will help the whole family enjoy a meal together that's easy to prep and looks the same.
Time now for a quick look at some of today's headlines. Senator Bongo once again hints at withdrawing his presidential bid and tells his colleagues in PDP Laban that this may not be his time. China wants the BRP Sierra Madre removed from Ayungin Shoal, but the Defense Department says it won't accede to China's bullying. And 4 political parties have now merged to support the tandem of Bongbong Marcos Jr. and Sara Duterte in the 2022 elections. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.